What a day, people. Finally feels like winter is over and spring might just be starting. Now, it would be safe to say that the winters in Shetland can be particularly brutal, and this winter, particularly January, has been absolutely horrendous. In fact, the only nice day we had, sadly I was in isolation through COVID, but today it definitely feels like spring is coming and it's a new season. It would, however, be safe to say that winter has taken its toll on my house, and so before we go out today and get some photos, I'm going to clean my house. How satisfying is power washing, by the way? But I wouldn't recommend doing that. You're not meant to power wash the wood of your house because it's meant to get rid of all the kind of chemicals and stuff that's been treating it, but I am just preparing it because I have to do the worst job, which is paint the house in the not too distant future. So not really had much chance to get out and take some photos recently. It's been one of these kind of times. I mentioned the last kind of nice day I had, I was in isolation because of COVID, but today I'm going to head out, going to try and get some photos of a really beautiful part of Shetland called Fethaland, which is right up the north of the mainland and near a place called North Row. And from there you can walk out to this old heron station, abandoned heron station, beautiful cliffs, really cool lighthouse at the end of the walk as well. So yeah, hopefully we'll get some nice photos and come back and we'll edit one. I'm out at Fethaland. This is Fethaland in the background. As I said earlier on, it's an old herring station. In fact, it was the busiest herring station in Shetland. And it's absolutely stunning out here. We've got all these rocks and sea in the background, waves all crashing off of them. I'm not sure if you can see all that. And we're going to try and get a bit of a photo, but the problem is that there is quite a lot of like harsh lighting. So the shadow and the sun, there's quite a lot of contrast already in the scene, so it's quite hard to get something that looks nice. So I might just try and go down and see if I can get something with the waves hitting off the rocks, because there's some quite spectacular waves coming in. But I love these little houses down here. See if you can see these. Been a cracker of a day, been for a great walk. Gonna end it with some fish and chips from Frankie's, the most northerly fish and chip shop in the UK. So that was my afternoon up in Fethaland. Always fish and chips is a great way to end the day. We didn't actually end up taking all that many photos. I don't know if you ever go out landscape photographing, if that's even a word, with your family, and you know, you're just aware that at times you just don't have as much time because you don't want to annoy them by going off and looking for photos all the time. But I did take some. You can see some of them that appear on the screen of us as a family, or you know, some of the landscapes around Fethaland. It's definitely worth a visit if ever you come up to Shetland and you're looking for something that's just a little bit off the beaten track, but it's not a muddy track, and it's worth going up to have a look. So what I've done is I've actually edited this photo here. And what my intention to do, I post my photos on Instagram, you can check that out over at Shetland360. But what we've got here is a photo that I'm going to turn into a panorama. So I've gone from this here to this. And as you can see, as I edit this photo, it's not the most exciting of seascapes, but the coastline up that area is very dramatic, and I love the colours. It was a beautiful day, quite harsh lighting, so as I said earlier in the video, that there's quite a lot of contrast in the scene. But what I've done here is I've increased the contrast, just because although there was contrast between the lighting, because this then had more harsh lighting, that actually you needed to increase the contrast here. Taken down the highlights and increased the shadows. If I go into the curves, I've just added a simple S curve into the overall image. In the greens, I've taken down the greens from the highlights just a little bit, and in the midtones and of the highlights of the blue curve, I've increased that a little bit. I've increased the whites and I've increased the blacks. In the temperature, I've made it more blue. I mean, it was a beautiful day. It was still pretty cold, mind you, but what I've done is I've made the temperature more cool, just to reflect the blue tones that's in the water and in the sky. Added a little hint of magenta into that. Added a touch of vibrance, not added any saturation. I don't like to overly saturate my photos. In the colour mix, I've not really done anything to adjust the yellows, the oranges and the reds, but as you can see in the yellows, I've taken the hue down towards the orange, saturation down, and the luminance down a little bit. That just was the colours that was in the rocks and on the little island in the distance there that you can see. What then I've done with the blues or the cyans is I've increased the luminance a little in that and adjust the luminance a little in the blues as well. In the effects, you can see I've added a little bit of texture just to highlight that within the rocks, a little bit of clarity, touch of dehaze, taking a vignette just to draw your eye into the centre of the picture as well. And in detail, I've not really done much to that, not added much sharpening or anything to it because I didn't really need it. And as you can see, I took this at f8, ISO 50 at 1/30th of a second at 42mm. And I tried to compose this in such a way that you had those stacks, sea stacks in the distance on the back left, and then on the right hand side you've got the coastline with the island in the middle, and then you've got this rock that juts out in the foreground, quite almost a tooth-shaped rock within that, and tried to give the photo a little bit of balance. I'm not quite sure I've succeeded. I think the right hand side is more stacked than the left hand side. But as I said, when you're in a place, when you've got a wife and a son and a dog that's waiting on you, you don't have all that long. So you're trying to get photos in between that. And maybe that's one of the big challenges of landscape photography. What I did with this is I adjusted this into, cut it into two. So it's one of those Instagram posts where you swipe left or swipe right, and then you're able to see the full panorama over a couple of different things. Sometimes it's worth doing that because on your Instagram you end up with more real estate and more time for people to look at it, which helps your algorithm and helps people see that. So that's what we did this week. It was a great trip up to Fethaland. Tune in next week for Shetland in 360. Have a great week.